Hi, and welcome to the show. I'm Brenda Kilhoffer, and I'm your cheap mama. Today, I am so excited because I have Leeanne Gardner on here with me. She is the author of Unbridle It, Buck Up, and Create Your Happy. And you guys know that I am super passionate about personal development, and so many of our shows are on that topic. And what you may not know is just how much my own journey with my horse Rhea has grown me, and I'm excited to have Leeanne. Her book is all about how that occurs here on the show with us today. So Leeanne, why don't you take a few minutes and introduce yourself a little bit more, and we'll get this party going.
Awesome. Thank you so much for inviting me to play, Brenda. I appreciate that. So yeah, I have pretty much a lifetime with horses and started when I was about 7. Um, Cliff Notes version because it's all in the book. But I had to sell my horse when I was 15 when my parents got divorced, and it ripped my heart out. So that took that was more painful than the divorce itself. And so I built a wall against horses for 17 years and got into corporate and climbed the corporate ladder and blah blah blah. But something was missing until I reconnected with horses 7 years later, and that's when I realized life balance. Because once I reconnected with the horses, it's like this is what's been missing from my life. So then got kind of crazy and got 7 horses and was showing very high level. I know you can't. It's just like Lay's potato chips. You can't have one. You have to have like. So I was showing quarter horse and paints all over the country and kind of an ego-driven life, which wasn't okay. And my ex-husband loved that, and I'm like, this is not fun anymore. But what I realized was that when I was talking to my corporate colleagues, because I'm all about passion, it's like what lights you up, right? Like the horses, when I reconnected with them, that was my passion. And so many people can't answer that question of what lights you up, what's your passion? And so what I realized was there's an opportunity. And so I was leaving the corporate arena in about 2008 and thought, I want to do something with my horses that helps people determine what that passion is. And that's when I started Unbridle It in 2008, which was a great time to start your own business, right? 2008. So anyway, it's taken different iterations, but most recently, I totally transformed my life last year, and that's what the book is about. And I couldn't have written this book until I went through a lot of these lessons. And looking at that, it was all from the horses about being authentic, being very present. That's how horses are, as you know. Like horses are keenly aware of their surroundings at all times. They have no judgment. So what they really care about is that you're showing up and being honest. So I just thought, wow, this is amazing how horses have helped my entire, I'm 56, and I couldn't have written it before because they've given me so much love. And it's unlike a dog, they're a prey animal, not a predator. So many people think they're the same, and a huge difference. But that's really what it's about. So it was the book I made totally changed my life. And my friends were like, you have to write a book because you're a different person. And thank you, horses. It was the reconnection and realignment with my purpose of working with the horses. So,
I love how you share that the horses are present and you get to show up completely authentic. I mean, I sometimes I look at my horse and I feel like she's reflecting everything negative, every negative bit of me, she's reflecting right back at me that moment, when I'm not patient, when I want to, and it's just like, okay, I just want nothing to do with you. And she walks away and it's like, okay. And I can see how I show up that way in my life. If I don't have interest in where, or I'm not in the conversation or in the place with the person across from me, that I check out. And
it's being present.
yeah.
That's exactly it. Like
Mhm.
horses don't care what you drive or how much money you make
Yeah.
or what you look like or any of that. What they care about is that you're showing up being honest. So if you are fearful of horses, show up and claim that. And this was one of my first lessons I learned was I competed at a very high level. And so I'd get in my head about, okay, there's this many horses, I need this many points, I've got to win. And when you're up in your head and you're not riding intentionally, your horse is like, where the hell are you? So you've got to be really present when you're working with the horses, because as you said, they're going to check out. It's like, where are you? Don't know where I am. So it really is a partnership. And so many times, if you're having a bad day, the worst thing you can do is get on your horse. The best thing you can do is go hang out with your horse, because of the heart math and how they help our heart regulate our heart and really take it down. But then I think it's about 40 feet from a horse. They can really help calm your rate of your horse, of your heart. I mean, I'm sure you know that now that you've got a horse. That
I didn't. I
know
didn't.
why I feel so good around horses. They're natural healers. And that's really what I love to introduce people to, because they're so much more than a big, beautiful animal. They're natural healers. And as you said, they'll mirror some things. I'm working with hoofbeats and had a great opportunity to help a gal who's being bullied. And the horse is the one that just was, Leanne, there's bullying. And so they're great with boundaries. And so I was able to help facilitate a pretty profound moment for this 14-year-old.
Wow.
Cool.
So tell me a little bit about Hoofbeats. What's the work that you're doing there?
Yeah, so Hoofbeats, part of my transformation was getting back to Cave Creek, which is where I had moved from. And when I was coming to look at this house, I passed this place called Hoofbeats, and it says, learn to speak horse. Well, hello, that's speaking my language, because I'm all about how to connect people, get out of your head, heart. And so I finally connected with them, and they have this amazing program. It goes way above just teaching people how to ride a horse. It's about connecting from the ground first and slowing everything down. So instead of the show world, that's perfection, like I was an equitation rider, perfect, now. It's learning to slow it all down and relate with your horse better. So they have a simulator that helps you with your balance before you even get on a horse. We have what's called Speak Horse, which is totally on the ground. It's some natural horsemanship methods, but it's not, natural horsemanship when you are with a normal trainer is like, oh my gosh, you're Janet from another planet. Well, it's like, no. And I had those same beliefs too, because I had very high level trainers. It's taking what's best for the horse and incorporating that and helping people learn that way. So it's from the show's perspective, as well as some different natural horsemanship methods that is all combined in one. And then they have Safe Ride and Easy Ride, which is more on a surcingle. And you do some cool, it's almost like vaulting. Mm-hmm. But I think I had some fun pictures of my girlfriends, my adult girlfriends that did that, and they were just having a blast. So it's about really learning confidence and balance and how to communicate with horses first, and then you learn how to ride. So it's an amazing program. So the stuff I do, it's on the ground, and that's where I really I seem to gravitate towards those people, either the kids on the spectrum or some of the women with boundary issues, because that's where horses are amazing, is with boundaries. Wow. They'll get up all in your stuff. It's like, how does that make you feel? Back up, Johnny. So it's like, my space, your space. Yeah. So that's so this beautiful partnership I have with Hoofbeats is I like to do events, and with a book coming out, or with a book that came out in February, I did my initial book signing. So it's really bringing all of that together, because they do focus on the riding and the connection. I'm about connection, and I really help women. So it's like, it's bringing all these different things together. And that was my reconnection to the horses, because I had lost my last horse in 2016. And so I hadn't had my horse connection that I was missing. So I'm so grateful for that. It's an amazing, I'll have to have you come up.
I can't wait. It's incredible. It just sounds
amazing.
I'm actually gonna tear up. Yeah. Well, and
a little
yeah, no, I love it, because I feel like there's no accidents. I mean, I threw this message out and said, hey, who can I talk to? And here you are. And there's just so much that you're sharing right now that I'm learning. I'm just starting to learn. And I know that, I'm in the middle of writing a book, but I also in that am like, okay, my next one's going to be lessons from Maria because I'm growing so much from her. And I just, and I had talked to my mom years ago. My mom actually had run a rescue up in New Mexico, and she wanted to do different retreats and things like that there. And I thought, and I had a vision for years of some retreats for teen girls and women. So the fact that you're, and of course, and of course, at the time with my mom, I was like, I didn't know anything about the horses and how that really could incorporate. I mean, like I knew that it would help, but I didn't know the way I know now, right? Because you want to learn patience, go spend some time with a horse, right? And try and teach.
Yeah.
And
It'll remind you to get out of your head. It's like horses have no agenda.
right.
That they'll remind you real quick if you have an agenda with a horse. It's like, not today.
I think that's my biggest learn from her has really been, and I think it's been hard, and not necessarily hard, but women, as women, we sometimes find ourselves second guessing our intuition. And I'll tell you what, that is one thing that my horse has taught me is to stop second guessing that, because we've had some incidences that resulted in me on the ground. And in each case, it was absolutely, I can relate the whole, like the big triggering incident to all of it, to my lack of trusting my gut. I went against what I thought she and I should do. And, because I was an inexperienced rider and, said, well, they've got to know better than me, right? They've been doing it all of this time. And, have really created a lack of trust there between my horse and I that I now am earning back. And isn't it interesting how that all still relates to the interpersonal relationships that we have in life?
It is everything. Like everything is so intrinsic because it's how we show up as people and the energy, right? I mean, everything for me is energy. And when you're showing up with any kind of an agenda, someone can feel that. And with the horses, again, with the no judgment, when we just show up and be open to whatever someone has to share with us, or whatever. And it's the world itself is, especially the United States, is so divisive now. It's crazy. And so the more we can all just learn to almost be like horses and just show up with no expectation, no judgment, just show up and be mindful of our space and our well-being. That's great, because when we come from that space, then it's not, we let go of that judgment of, oh, what are you trying to do to me? Mm-hmm. And it is, you've got to listen to your gut with the horses, because they'll remind you. They'll give you some subtle reminders, but it really, they teach you how to be completely present at all times. Because if you're not, they'll, like when I'm helping with lessons, the horse doesn't want to move. I'm like, okay, where are you looking? If you're looking at your horse, they see in pictures, we've got to look where we're going.
Right.
And so the horses talk to me the whole time. Horses will talk to us. We just have to listen. So that's also kind of what I teach the students that I work with, is they're talking to us all the time with their eyes and their ears and how they're breathing. I do a lot of breathing because there's, that's so important to keep that energy flowing. So right. Yeah, I love it. I love it.
So what are some of the big lessons that you teach in the book that you share?
My whole kind of transformation was 3 different parts. It was self-care, relationships, and alignment with purpose. So my self-care so much more than just a massage or manicure. It's really who you're surrounding yourself with and who you're listening to on the radio or TV or whatever. I don't even watch TV. I listen to music. So, I think one of the big lessons, my first lesson with my first horse I lost was heartbreak, of course, because I was losing something I had no control over. Mm-hmm. Another lesson is a reconnection with a passion, because so many people Just like my parents, they were getting divorced, or they had to sell the horse. So many people may have given up on a passion or walked away from a passion due to nothing they've done. Either somebody told them they weren't good enough, or they can't have that, or in my case, a divorce. And so they built a wall against that passion, never to go back there again because they didn't want the hurt, like me. And when I speak about this, there's always somebody that's like, oh my gosh, and they tear up. Well, so the big lesson there is you're an adult now, so go explore that again. And think of a time, because again, what's your passion? It's your newfound passion is horses. But can you tell me what your passion is if you didn't have the horse?
Yeah.
You know, a lot of people can't. So
Yeah.
think of a time that you were really happy, and then what were you doing, and are you doing that, or did you walk away from that? So that was another really good lesson. And the biggest one is just the profound lesson of presence and showing up and authentic every single day, because let go of the judgment of what other people think, because it doesn't matter. You know, when you are in alignment with your purpose, and for me, it's, again, I had 25 years in corporate and I've been an entrepreneur now for a while. But my alignment is helping people learn to connect with the horses. And it's not about the money, and people and opportunities will come to you when you are in alignment with purpose. So whatever that is that you're doing, whatever lights you up, just don't judge it. Just let it go, and people and opportunities will come to you. And it truly, it's like I wake up like it's Christmas every day. And because I took the reins and I totally changed my life. I'm a Scorpio, so change the whole. It's like, oh, I don't change one thing, I'm changing it all.
Yeah.
But so much of that is, again, from the horses and just being with the horses. And I do these little women's happy hours, women wine and Winnie's, like little happy hour networking. Women have maybe loved horses as a kid, but they never had the opportunity to connect. So again, when I spoke about the heart and how they can calm our heartbeats down, these women are like, they leave with these huge smiles, and it's not all the wine. It's the horses. Because they're like, I just feel so different. I said, it's the horses, they're natural healers. So the more people I can introduce to horses in that way, even if they never choose to ride, it's just amazing. And right now people need something. They need, there's a huge need for mental health, just of listening. And the horses just listen and be and don't judge. So,
well, and it's so, you brought up self-care. And, I think for so many people that don't have, they feel like they have to have the space to have the horse. They have to have the whole package to even have any real association with horses, other than, what other experience is typically offered is the trail ride. And that's, that's not always, that was all I'd had as far as the background. I'd had, several different experiences from, not great to, really incredible, and scary even.
The horses.
Yeah.
That's the other thing I love about Hoofbeats. It's you've got to honor the horse first, always.
Mm-hmm.
And Hoofbeats honors the horse. There's horses that are being used on those trail rides and the packing. They hate their job. And
Right.
I'm an empath, and I feel it. And I talk to them and I'm like, I'm so sorry, I can't help you with this. So I can't even do those rides because
Mm-hmm.
the majority of them aren't really liking that job.
Right.
But yeah, it is. You don't have to have any of that. And it is very expensive at times. And showing is very expensive. But
Mm-hmm.
there's opportunities like Hoofbeats just to connect and see if it's something that piques your interest, and
Right.
see what you want to do with them, and just be with them and hang out and see whatever comes next. But let it happen organically. You don't have to say, okay, well, I got to buy a horse and bit to that. And maybe that's not in your best interest to do right off the bat. Learn the right way and learn all the things involved, and you can lease horses. There's all kinds of stuff.
And of course, everybody, when you start to get involved with horses, everybody's got their own opinion and their own advice for you. And
what you have to do this.
I know I went way against the grain with Rhea because she wasn't yet, she had been trained when she was 4 and sold to this family that had never really done anything with her, that she's spooked once, and she's definitely a very easily spooked. And she was a perfect horse for me. Like, I mean, there was a connection instantly, and in going through it, we got to learn together. We got to build confidence together. We got to, get started together. And, and in many ways, we've had my own fears. I've let her down, and we get to continue to work on it.
And she lets it go.
Yeah.
There's a deep seated, if something trauma has happened to a horse, they'll hold on to that. Mm-hmm. The rest of the stuff, they don't care. Mm-hmm. It's like, they don't care if somebody kicks them out. Okay, whatever, Johnny, go away. And, but they let it go. And that's the beauty of that. And if we could just learn to let more stuff go, like, okay, done with that. Listen, walk away. Now, do you have kids, and has the mare had babies? Because there's that sometimes with women.
She has not. I do have kids. She's not had babies. She's 10. And she just had no life experience, just nothing, just their backyard passion. When the first time, when the trainer came to evaluate her, it actually took him 40 minutes just to get her under halter.
Oh, ouch.
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, we've come a long way. I mean, she and I have done some trail. We have rode trail together. We've done, a lot, and we're starting over again.
Oh gosh. Yeah.
So, but
good for you for being patient, because so many great horses get in the wrong hands, and then they're called bad horses, and there's bad people that make a bad horse, but they all get a second chance. And again, hoof thieves, they give all these show horses that have been tossed away a second chance. Yeah. There's this amazing horse. His name is Confidence. Mm-hmm. Stunning, big array, like stellar, stunning horse.
Wow.
And he has been shattered internally, because we don't even want to know what happened to this horse, but he would just stand and kick out like he was so insecure. Now I'm riding him like some of the higher level people are riding him. He's just a love, but you take the time with each horse. Right. Every horse is different. You can't have one horse fit into one training program. And it's all about on their timing and listening to them and just slowing everything down. So thank you for doing that for that mare, because she may have ended up in a worse situation. Yeah. If people don't have the patience like that, just hang out with a horse, connect with them. Okay, you've had some bad stuff happen, so we're going to slow it all down.
Yeah. We have another one that's in the same boat. I believe that at one point, one of his owners had probably ear twitched him, because he's just super, super head shy, and he's been slow going, but he's been awesome. He's starting to, he's one of those you desperately, he wants to be right there in your pocket, and he's just still a little bit, we're gonna wait a little bit. But yeah, he's a handful too, and a lot of fun.
That's awesome.
All right. Well, we're right about break time. So when we come back, we talked a little bit about some of the big lessons you've learned from your book. Let's hear some of the story when we come back, and what led up to that, and all of those things. And we are going to go ahead and hear from our sponsor.
Hello, good people out there in podcast world, cyber world. Interrupt your programming real quickly to tell you about our sponsor, Medium Lauren Robbins. Medium Lauren Robbins, if you look at someone who's warm, loving, genuine, and has a welcoming energy, like talking to a friend, Lauren is the one to talk to. She's direct. She will tell you what you need to know, not what you want to hear, and will comfort you when you cry or when you are upset, like a good friend would. If you are a new client, she will make you understand what you requested before you even start the session or service. Visit MediumLaurenRobbins.com for sessions and services. Get hooked up with an endorsed medium today.
Hello and welcome back. I'm Brenda Killhoffer, your cheap mama, and I am here with Leeanne Gardner. She's the author of Unbridle It, and we have had just a great conversation. And so, Leeanne, tell us a little bit more about kind of the whole story, what led up to it, and what your readers will, what our listeners will learn, whether they're a horse person or not.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So the book is called Buck Up and Create Your Happy. And initially it was called the Rona Reset because at the onset of the pandemic, I guess about last March, I just woke up and I was going, I am not happy. I'm like one of the happiest people on the planet. Like I just kind of wake up like this, like a Pop-Tart. But I felt like I'd let myself go. I was 20 pounds heavier than I still am. I was in a relationship with a man who was a really, really good man, just not for me. And I was living in a place, just my whole life just wasn't working for me. And I'm all about what lights you up in passion and horses. And I had not found my horse place in the West Valley for about 4 years. So I was so excited. I don't know why. Like here, the world is shutting down because of this pandemic. And part of me was like, I'm a business and marketing consultant was my normal job before this book. And I thought it was such a great opportunity for small businesses to focus on their foundation because I'm all about foundation. If your foundation, if it's personal or business, is crumbling, then you're not going to have a sustainable business or life. Mm-hmm. So that's kind of like, okay, let me put this together in my life. And so I thought, you're not practicing what you preach because you're not in alignment with your passion. You haven't found your horses, but what are you going to do about it? So I ended the relationship. I moved to a place in Sun City West. And oh, honey, I'm too young for Sun City West. I'm like, well, what am I doing? And I wanted to get back to horses. So I just started every day. You hear about gratitude and the law of attraction and all that. Mm-hmm. I started doing my gratitude walks because you asked me to meditate and be quiet for 30 minutes, even 5, forget it. No, you can tell there's a lot of words. I don't really be quiet doesn't make it work. But my gratitude walks work. So it's like, I'm grateful for this, this, and this, and more steps started popping up. And like, I felt my energy calming and I'm like, this is interesting. So then I did Noom and I started releasing 20 pounds. So everybody on the planet's gaining weight and griping on social media and, oh my gosh, nothing's in our control. Well, I took complete control of my life and it was working. Mm-hmm. So just like as the law of attraction, nothing is going to work unless you take action. And so I started taking action and all this amazing stuff was happening. And then I intentionally put it out there that I wanted to be back in this little area of the county of Cave Creek, surrounded by horses where I used to live when I was married. And this opportunity for a house sitting, dog sitting thing appeared, which saved me a tremendous amount of money. On the way, I see hoofbeats. So like all of these different serendipitous synchronicities happen. And it was like, oh my God, this is pretty amazing. So then I was called the master manifester because anything I put out there, other than I'm still single, I'm still looking for a guy. I haven't manifested him yet. All this stuff just started happening, and then it was, I had started writing the book because I had gone through the self-care. So as I mentioned, self-care is much more than massages and all of that. So much of it is who you're surrounding yourself with. So I've got a chapter in the book called Who's in Your First Class Cabin, because you hold the boarding passes to your energy, and I'm quality over quantity every day of the week. So yes, I can speak at big events, but I almost prefer more intimate gatherings because you can really connect with people better, and they're more likely to show up authentically. So who's in the first place? That's who you surround yourself with is really, really important. So is TV and, all of that kind of stuff. Right. So for self-care, it's you put yourself first. It's not selfish at all. And then the whole relationship piece was you've got to really do your own work before you can even think about having a good relationship with anyone else. So that's really what I did. And I'm like, okay, what do I want and what do I don't want? And do your own work. And then the alignment with purpose, once I reconnected with the horses, it's like, yes, this is what I'm supposed to do. And this is what really makes me happy. And it's not about the money. And so I still have a couple clients, but for the most part, the marketing and consulting business, I've let go. I'm helping Hoofbeats because we've got some great opportunities there. But it's when you get back in alignment with your purpose, whatever it is, you feel it and you get energized and stuff just really starts happening. And if you're out of alignment, then you're going to have roadblock after roadblock, and you're never going to move forward. So many people are focused on vision. You have to have a vision, and this is the only way to do it. Well, I never did. Like, I never knew what I wanted to be when I grew up. And so you take opportunities as they come up. And as you mentioned, your intuition, you've got to feel it.
Right.
Like, really stop enough, listen and breathe and feel the feels. Does it feel right? Does it not feel good? So that's really been my whole life, or like this past year. And it's been working so far. So
well, and I think that's the whole thing with purpose. I think what I have discovered for me around purpose has been that at first it seemed like it was this super, super narrow, purpose. But then as I've grown in it, it was like, well, no, that was just one of the opportunities within purpose. Right. And then, and as I continue, other opportunities come in that are in alignment with the purpose. And so there's a audio I listened to called The Technology of Genius, a while back. And he had actually broke it into that there's almost like there really are just kind of 5 categories per se, where it's free the captive, heal the sick, and I don't remember all of the others, but it was, that where there was this, everybody, has like this, like help the poor, there's a more of a category, and then different things, fall in. And that was the technology. It was called The Technology of Genius. And I love that because I was like, okay, it just expanded my vision of what all falls into alignment with purpose. And, and that's, for me, that for the pandemic, that this podcast was one of those things that were like, well, wait a minute, and then getting back into my writing and saying, I've gotten too narrowly focused here. And yes, that success is going to come there, and it's going to be a result of the influence when you're doing your writing and when you're doing the speaking, when you're doing these other things that will create some of the success over here that leads to, just that knowing. So I love that you really just kind of took that whole path with knowing. So help the listeners kind of describe for them what that knowing is like, when you step into and you just know that.
So kind of what I did, and I have it in the book, is when my friends said, you need to write this book, like, what did you do? I said, well, let me think about it. And it was, okay, I kind of reassessed, right? Reassess where you're at right now. And what's working, what's not working, and so you kind of drill into that, and it's like, okay, well, this feels good. This really doesn't feel good, so then let's tap into that. And then it was realignment. So what are you going to do to get back to where you need to be? And for me, it was end a relationship, move out first, and then move back to where I needed to be. And then the reignite. And it was once you have claimed your personal space, you've done some of your work, and you understand where it is you're supposed to go, you just get energized. And so I think it's taking those first steps to make the changes. One of my other things I say all the time, what you're not changing, you're choosing. And that's so true, right? I mean, I say that all the time because people can gripe about stuff, and it's like, what are you doing to change that? What you're not changing, you're choosing. And so you just have this feeling inside that's like, yeah, that's right. Or no, you know what? It's not. But it's learning to slow down enough. I used to rush. It's like go, go, go. Like somebody was chasing me. It's no one's chasing you. The more we can just slow down everything, there's so many people being so busy, being busy. Well, what are you doing? Just take some time to figure out what's going to light you up and then take a couple of steps to get there. Because I think, especially now after the pandemic, everybody's in this rush to return to normal. Well, was your normal working for you before?
Right.
And that's where I just am like, okay, so if it wasn't working before, now it's a little jacked up because you may not even have a job. So what will work?
Mm-hmm.
And what do you want to do? And yeah, it's scary, but instead of thinking that's fear, think of it as excitement. And so that's what I did. So instead of being fearful, I have no idea. I had lost a couple nonprofit clients because they didn't have funding because of the coronavirus. And I'm like, I have no idea where the money's going to come from, but I know it's going to come. So that whole mindset piece is huge too. And it's not being Pollyanna, it's being, I know it's all going to work out. Mm-hmm. And it's up to me to have that perspective and that outlook and believe it, because, success is all in your mind, literally. Like you're going to either be your own successful mentor, or you're going to rip the carpet out from underneath yourself.
Right.
And then that goes back to who you're surrounding yourself with. There's so much to that. There's haters out there all the time. And there's people that are jealous because, oh my God, who does she think she is for doing all this stuff? I don't care that, it's not about you. I'm doing what's best for me. And I think a lot of people just they're still selfish. So they've got families and this and that. Well, if you have a family, you're going to be a better person or mom or sister or whatever when you're really happy and you're like, yeah, I'm vibing to this is what I'm supposed to do. Because then you can maybe help them step into that.
Yep. I call that associate. So I have the practice that I teach is read, listen, and associate, right? Read, the right information, things like your book, read, 20 minutes a day, just you grow when you're reading. And then listen, you mentioned it earlier, you don't listen to the news, you don't turn on all that television and all of that stuff. And I think that was one of the things that really got me when the pandemic hit, because I had that same philosophy. We hadn't had news on or television in our home for 8+ years. And when that happened, and then all of these other things just kept happening in the world, it was almost like, I need to know what's going on. I need to know what's in. And I really did. I got off track. Mm-hmm. And then of course the associate, when you're locked in, all of those people that, I was associating with, we weren't necessarily getting together anymore. Maybe by Zoom a little bit, but not, there's a difference when you can be with people in a room and energy and all of those things. But you're right. There's so many people that have that bucket of crabs mentality, right? They want to pull you down. They want to see you do good, just not better than them. Right.
And some of them don't even want to see you do good. It's the jealousy. It's like, oh my gosh, you know what? We're so much stronger together.
Right.
And how that makes you feel, right? Yeah. Like, how do you feel when you're being negative? It's like you feel it instead of, oh my God, that's so cool, right? Yep. Mm-hmm. Feel the feels,
Right.
Seriously, yeah.
Right. Yep. You don't want to be the dark cloud that walks in the room. You want to be the sunshine that brightens it up.
Exactly. And the other thing with the book, there was so much with outside of our control, right? Mm-hmm. Everything we didn't have control over anything.
Right.
So I thought, if I can write a book of, this isn't the only way to do it. This is how I did it, and it kind of worked for me. So it's a workbook, but it's something completely within your control. Your happiness is only up to you. Mm-hmm. It's not up to anybody else. It's up to you to totally take the reins and mm-hmm. take control of. And people don't get that because they're listening to the noise of, well, no, you couldn't possibly do that. Well, hold my beer, watch me. You know, it's yes, you can do whatever, but you have to be willing to make the changes to make it happen. And it may be uncomfortable, but if it's on that bigger alignment with purpose, it's going to happen easier than you even realize. Like I didn't set up to be an author last year at all. Like, not even on my plan.
Your radar. Yeah. And you're right. We are responsible for our own joy. We can't depend on anybody else. We can't depend on our government. We can't depend on, the right person in office. And I think that has been, a big awareness through this for me, because, there are definitely policies in the schools that I don't want for my kids, things that are happening. And I was ready to charge forward and did so on this show. We were charging forward against some of the critical race theory and things like that. And then one day I just had this like, aha, like when I go and I share at those board meetings, I'm talking to people who've already made up their mind one way or the other. There's not one single person that I am going to convince to switch their position. My job is going right back into, my passion and purpose and in the living rooms, because, to your point, you're working with small groups, right? Small groups of people. We want to be the little droplet that creates the ripple, versus so often we get so short-sighted on wanting to fix what can I do to fix this? What we can do to fix it is work on us.
Yes, exactly.
Work on me, take care of what is it that I need to fix here, so that the relationships I have with my immediate family, so that I have more influence there. Because we have no influence if we are, if I'm not out chasing my dreams and following my passion, I have absolutely no influence with my children to tell them to do that. Why would they do it if I'm not the example of that?
And it's that leads to integrity. I felt like I was out of integrity. I talk about passion, but I wasn't passionate.
Right.
And I'm like, no. Yeah, that's exactly it. And it's not, people want to change the world and these gurus. I hate that word guru. Like, when people, oh, you're a guru or you're an expert. No, I'm not. I know this much about this much.
Right.
And everybody has different philosophies, and you're going to resonate with different people. Same with horses. Everything goes back to horses. There's not one size fits all. Right. And there's all kinds of people out there that really do a lot of harm to horses. And there's some that do really good things. I was with some of the top trainers in the country, and they hurt my horses, and I had them get off my horses. One, but no, that's not what my horse wants. And then there's some others I'm like, oh, what are you doing? And what is that supposed to do? But if it works for them, and people, people always have to follow. So I'm not a follower. I'm kind of like not in the box. I like to be out of the box. But there's so many people that they don't have that confidence because they listen to the masses. So I'm just like, stop listening to the masses and listen to your heart and your soul and what you want to do, and step into your authenticity. If more of us would just do that, then that ripple effect's going to be better, instead of listening to the masses. And I may not believe it, but that's what everybody else says. Oh my Lord, then I'm running the other way. Right. So it's really, everything's totally in our own control, but and then our sphere of influence. So just like you.
We have our we have our circle of influence and our circle of control. Anyway. There's and as we grow ourselves, we can expand that. And only to the level that we've grown.
We're always a work in progress. Back in the first class cabin, I've got a very small circle that I really let in. I have a very large network. I mean, I know a lot of people, but I've got a very small circle that I let in my energy, because I'm really affected. I have a big karmic bank from a good deed I did last week, but it took a huge toll on my energy because I let him in my house to stay in my house for a few days.
Right.
So that was a great lesson for me. It's like, yay, I provided them a respite, but man, did that take a toll on me. So
Right.
you have to be mindful of all of that.
Absolutely, because sometimes it's important who you allow to speak into your life. I remember joining a real estate team many years ago that the team leader appeared super, super, super successful. I mean, it had a very, very successful team. And this was one of the national teams. And I had become someone finally who was coachable. And I let them in a way I had not let any coaches in before. And then when I left, I was I had set myself so much further back than I had been before. And I realized, oh my gosh, they walked in a scarcity mindset. Like they lived, breathed, and walked in a scarcity mindset, and were had it was rubbing off. It was affecting me. It was impacting me. And then the things that they would say were, as far as, well, you're not doing this, but all of the things were, hurting my, and I hadn't walked in there that way. I had walked in there probably in the best shape up to that point that I'd ever been, as far as my mindset and things like that, and had gone in and taken it by storm and was one of the top agents. It's why they gave me the team.
Mm-hmm.
And then I ended up not getting paid, and it sucked. It sucked everything out of me. Yeah. And it was so funny because I, as things went down, as we were splitting off, there was no win-win. It was lose, they win, just from silly things like the Zilla, just some very silly things. But fast forward, man, one of the team leaders was even stripped of the market center that he had owned because it was such a pervasive culture. So you're right. You've got to, just because it looks bright and shiny and successful and great on the surface, doesn't necessarily mean that they are the ones that you should allow to speak into your life, or share your space, because it isn't always.
No, I have stuff like that with. I kind of went into some of the equine coaching certification classes. I thought I had to have a certification. You don't. There's right. Newsflash, people. Stop the certification, collect, and just start doing it. And I met a lot of women who have very successful certification programs, but I've seen the women behind that. And same thing. They'll prey on the women that have trauma and have loved horses, and it's very sad. And so that's why I there's not one size fits all. I don't believe in gurus and putting anyone up on a pedestal. Resonate with people that you resonate with, and take bits and pieces and make your own thing that's going to work for you. I'm just not a big, like, this is the only way to do it. You have to do this, and thousands of dollars. How many hundreds and thousands of dollars programs do people spend and may never even open them or walk away from it? Right. So that's why, like I said, I don't have this big coaching business. No, we don't need anymore. I don't resonate with the word coach. There's a coach on every corner. I have a whole lot of life experience. It's like I'm kind of a consultant or a conduit or a boss mare. Like, that's my title. I'm a boss mare. Like, I will keep you out of trouble and lead you to a safer path. So.
Awesome. So, Leeanne, how do people get your book? Where do they go to find your book? Learn more about the programs that you offer and
all that fun stuff. Right now, it's available on Amazon. It's $12.95 on Amazon. I do have some at my house. I need to get back out and do some more book signings. So if anybody is interested in hosting a book signing, I do all the marketing to help drive people to your business. I'm also a big supporter of small businesses. So I'll do a 10% give back on book sales, excuse me, to the host, and especially for horse places. Like I like to promote horse businesses. So if you have a horse business and want to do that. So Amazon's the best place, because if you do buy it on Amazon, then you can also write a review on Amazon. Unbridledit.com is my website. So as I mentioned, the book is more or less a workbook. And you can download full sheets of all the different worksheets in the book from my website. And it's unbridledit.com. You can join my list. I've got different, it's so hot in Arizona, or your listeners or potty people, whatever you call them. Potty people.
Potty people.
Country or Arizona or
it varies. It's all over the country. We've actually had some from India, a lot of listeners in India. Just, a lot of times it depends on who the guest is, because the guests will end up sharing. We've had guests from London and guests from India and all over.
So wherever you are in the world, in Arizona, it's crazy hot. So I'll start my programs back up in September. And it's anything from networking, which is a different way to help people show up authentically. Because again, now the world is opening up. So you're getting back out and networking. And instead of showing up and doing your 30-second commercial, which nobody listens to anyway, it's how to really show up more authentically and connect with the horses. And I do some Liberty work with Gatsby, who's my love at the barn, just to show how horses have the ability, if they choose, to be with you or not. And it's a pretty cool thing when they choose to be with you, and just the internet, the connection that people can experience. So, but I'll be doing some workshops that kind of correlate with the chapters of my book this fall. And just some fun stuff. So who knows what else is on the horizon? I've got all these different people popping in, like, oh my gosh, there you go. I've done women's retreats. I was a co-founder in a women's co-working space. So probably some women's retreats with the horses will be on the tarmac, and, just helping people step into taking the reins and changing their life, because it's really up to you.
Awesome. Incredible. Thank you so much for being on the show today, Leeanne, and would love to have you back again. And I definitely, everyone get out there, get that book.
Thank you. I appreciate that.